Hello and welcome to the Beef Edge, the Teagasc Beef Podcast, for all your latest news, information and advice for Irish beef farmers. I'm Catherine Egan, and on this week's episode, Teagasc Beef Specialist Aidan Murray joins me to discuss the key aspects of the beef finisher payment, which opens today, the 19th of August. But first, I asked Aidan, what is the beef finisher payment?
Well, the beef finisher payment is another payment that's going to appear under the exceptional aid measure. It's really a follow-up to BEAM, but it's there to support beef finishers in Ireland that have been severely impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic, and the department have made available €50 million to pay out to finishers that are eligible for the programme.
And what is the reference period that stock have to be finished during to qualify for the payment, Aidan?
Well, the department had two things, I suppose, to look at here. They had to look at the amount of payment per animal, but then they had to look at the number of animals over the months that COVID was in place. And what they've decided is that animals that were over 8 months of age that were slaughtered in a licensed abattoir in Ireland between the 1st of February 2020 and the 12th of June 2020 inclusive would be eligible for payment.
So if stock were slaughtered in January or after the 12th of June, they won't qualify for the payment?
No, unfortunately, if you slaughtered animals on the 31st of January or on the 13th of June, because they're outside of the reference period, as it stands, those animals wouldn't be eligible.
And how much is the payment worth?
Well, based on the assumptions of the department and the number of animals that would have been slaughtered in the reference period, they're aiming to have the payment in around €100 per eligible animal. Now, that may change, for example, if they thought it was oversubscribed, but the target is to try and have it in around €100 per head.
And who is eligible to apply?
Well, basically, there's a few criteria there where if a farmer is looking to apply, obviously, there's an age criteria that you have to be sort of over 18 at the time of application. You have to hold an active herd number. It's not good enough to be a herd keeper. It's the herd owner, because from a payment point of view, the payments are made to the herd owner, not a herd keeper. So a herd keeper is not acceptable. You have to have submitted a basic payment in 2020. And I know there is some cases whereby someone that has a slatted shed, for example, and may not have put in any land, finish a few cattle out of the shed, they can submit an area aid form up until the 30th of September this year. It's past the deadline, but there is a clause there where you can actually submit an area aid form for those people that haven't already submitted one this year for the purposes of this scheme. The other area, Catherine, is that they have to be a member of the Board B, a quality assurance scheme, at the time of application, or if you're not currently in the scheme, that you make an application before the 30th of September and then make sure you stay in it until at least the 30th of September 2021, because the department will run a check on that. You can't be an agent or a dealer, which was similar to what we've seen under BEAM, and obviously the animals have to be slaughtered within the reference period that we mentioned already.
And for any participant that hasn't already joined the Board B, a quality assurance scheme, how do they do that now?
Well, they just make contact with Board B. They can go online and look to sign up. You don't have to have had your inspection over before the 30th of September, but it's important that you have lodged an application if you're currently not in, so that Board B have a record of it, and that they'll follow up with an on-farm inspection afterwards.
And what type of stock is eligible for the payment?
Well, basically, any animal that was presented for slaughter that's on the AIM system that was over 8 months of age at the time of slaughter. So, in effect, essentially all cattle that went to slaughter. So it ranges from young bulls to older stock bulls to cull dairy cows. It's a pretty wide spectrum of animals that are actually eligible that were slaughtered in Ireland.
So all grades of cull cows are eligible?
Yes.
And if cattle were slaughtered in Northern Ireland, will they qualify for the payment?
No, the ruling at the moment is that if an animal has been slaughtered in Northern Ireland, and there is an anomaly there where a number of cattle in the last few months have been going to Northern Ireland for slaughter because of the demand there, these animals are not eligible for payment under the beef finisher payment scheme because they're deemed to have been exported. And they're not in, and for that reason, they're actually ruled out. It was the same scenario under Beam. It probably maybe won't suit a lot of farmers if that's the case, but unfortunately, as it stands, if they've been exported for slaughter to Northern Ireland, they will not qualify under the BFP.
You mentioned that a farmer had to be the herd owner. If a farmer's in a partnership, how do they claim?
Yeah, the partnership, again, very similar to Beam. Those that were in a registered farm partnership, they are eligible to apply. They will have submitted a BPS earlier on this year, I take it. And the number of animals that is eligible depends purely on the number of herd numbers that came into the partnership. So the ordinary sole trader as a farmer would have them up to a maximum of 100 animals. If you were in a partnership and you came in with 2 herd numbers to the partnership, the limit goes up to 200. If there was 3 herd numbers came into the partnership, the overall limit could go up to 300 and so on. And that's a bit of a concession because on the Beam scheme, it was only up to 200. But if there's more than 2 herd numbers in a registered farm partnership, well, then that number will increase accordingly.
And you mentioned earlier the Beam scheme, there was a 5% reduction in organic nitrogen. Is there going to be an organic nitrogen reduction required for this payment?
I think there was a few lessons learned as to with regard to the Beam, and one of them was that it was highly contentious that they looked for a 5% reduction in the organic nitrogen, and thankfully for the purposes of the BFP, they've decided not to look for any further organic nitrogen reduction. So no, there will be no organic nitrogen reduction required in this payment.
That's great. And do farmers have to participate in any other schemes such as GLAS, Beam, BEEP or BDGP?
No, again, in Beam, there was a requirement to be in some form of an environmental scheme, like those that you've already mentioned. The only requirement this year, or with this payment, is that basically that they sign up or are already in the Board B Quality Assurance Scheme. There's no requirement for any of the environmental schemes as part of this payment.
And for any farmer that doesn't finish cattle, such as suckler farmers, but they may have sold cattle in the mart, should they apply in case they're eligible for the payment?
Well, they can go in online. Anybody that wants to apply can go in online and from the 19th of this month of August and look to see if they're eligible, and it will automatically put up the number of animals that they think or that the department have recognised that you would be eligible for payment, including a farmer, for example, that went to a mart and sold an animal during the reference period to another farmer or whoever, and that animal was subsequently slaughtered within 30 days, the department would actually go back to the original farmer, and that animal would be deemed eligible under the original farmer. But it's only if it was slaughtered within 30 days of leaving your herd. So there may be some farmers that would have sold maybe heifers or strong bullocks or cull cows that think, well, I don't actually slaughter animals. If you check online, there may be a few animals that have unknown to you have been slaughtered within 30 days of leaving your herd, and they would, providing you meet all the other criteria, you could be eligible for payment on those. And again, that's slightly different to what the situation was on Beam.
So you may be eligible for payment even though you haven't slaughtered anything under your own herd number?
Yes, and so therefore it's worth checking out if you've sold animals that were very near finish in the mart, for example, or privately during the reference period. And it's just a simple check online to see whether is there animals appearing up that are eligible for payment under this programme.
So for the farmers that have slaughtered stock during that period, how do they apply?
Well, basically, the application period will be between the 19th of August and the 9th of September. And the only way to apply is to go in online. And if you go into if you're already registered, you can go into your agfood account go on to exceptional aid measures, and there will be an opportunity there to claim under the beef finisher payment, and you tick the terms and conditions and you tick that you wish to apply, and it's a simple and it'll show you the number of animals that are showing up on your profile as being eligible for payment. For the other option is that anybody that's not already registered on AgFood, if they went into www.agfood.ie, they can register themselves, but they would want to be doing that pretty quickly because it's a short window for application. Or if you have a Teagasc Advisor, or you have a private consultant that does a lot of your paperwork or online work, if they have been given authorization to submit your application, they can apply online on your behalf, just as it was with BEAM. For those that don't, or that maybe didn't apply for BEAM, and haven't given their advisor permission, there is a procedure there that they can apply and give their advisor access to do that for them. But so you can either do it yourself online or do it through your advisor.
That's great. When will farmers receive the payment?
I think that this is a bit of a moving target, but again, the aim would be to look to try and get payment out sometime in October. But again, that could drift depending on when checks and that would be completed. But essentially, the payment would probably come sometime, possibly between basic payment and ANC. So I think the target is sometime in October.
Thanks, Aidan. I think you've answered a lot of the questions there that farmers may have. For further queries, they can contact their Teagasc Advisor, and the link to the terms and conditions will be available in the text from the podcast. Thanks, Aidan.
You're welcome.
That's all for this week's episode, and my thanks to Aidan for joining me on the show. You can catch up on all other shows and interviews from the Beef Edge podcast on the Teagasc website at Teagasc.ie, or you can listen on Apple and Google Podcasts as well as Spotify. Don't forget to rate, review and subscribe so you never miss a show. For all other updates from our beef programme, keep an eye on our Twitter and Facebook pages. Until next time, I'm Catherine Egan, and thanks for listening.